Today's venue is going to be the cycling velodrome here in Colorado Springs. It's one of my favorite sports to shoot. I love cycling, and especially on the velodrome. There's so many opportunities to just get great action pictures there. The velodrome is also an outdoor venue that acts almost like an indoor venue in the sense of it's relatively easy to light, in the sense that you can bring lighting equipment in and be kind of up on the wall, spectators' wall area pretty much, and set your lights up there much the way you would at an indoor arena. Something I always thought about doing, but as I explained earlier, couldn't do because I couldn't use high-speed sync and flash and ambient light all combined at the same time. So going to the velodrome, I'd like to show just a couple of examples just to give you something to sort of watch for or look for during the video. But keep in mind that one of the reasons we're using speed lights is the portability. We don't have power packs. We don't have cords and wires all over the place. We're using the Nikon SB900 speed lights. We're using the 4-square block, which holds 4 speed lights. We've talked about that in the first 3 videos, and all that is also written about in the articles. That is a primary piece of equipment. That's one of the pieces of equipment that actually made all this sort of thing possible. I needed a block that would hold 4 speed lights. That gives me enough power at high speed sync in order to throw enough light across my subjects from a fairly great distance. In the surfing video, for example, we were actually throwing light up to 200 feet. That's a long throw of lights. Now in the surfing video, we went way out there and we actually used 8 speed lights. We teamed up 2 4-square blocks, put them together. That gave us 8 speed lights. I know that sounds drastic, but sometimes to get a drastic picture, I may take some drastic measures. I'm not too concerned about what the rig looks like. All I want to know is that it works. All I want to know is that it does what I want it to do. And that was provide enough light at a great distance to where I could use a very fast shutter speed as a sync speed, 1,000th of a second, 1/1600th of a second, something like that. I'm going to kind of show you a few still shots. I thought that might be helpful to kind of set the tone, not only for this final video here at the velodrome, but also it'll maybe explain a little bit about what we did earlier at say hockey and surfing and motocross, etc. So let's open this guy up. This is the first shot that we made. It's actually just a test. If you're not familiar with the velodrome, it's for cycling, and it's a concrete, steeply banked oval race course used in international world competitions and the Olympics, of course. Remember, we're thinking in terms of a fill flash. I'm going to make manual exposures with my camera, but I'm going to actually underexpose the ambient exposure just a little bit. How much? Well, depends on how much drama I want in the picture. Simply said, I'm going to take an underexposed shot and then add my own speed light to it. So here's lap number 1 as this fella comes around. He's just warming up, getting ready for the races that day. I've underexposed the scene by 1 stop and 1/3. It was an overcast day. We had no sunshine. And that may be the point. You may go, oh, why not just use the sunshine, Dave? The sunlight looks beautiful. I love the natural light, you know. Well, there was no sunshine that day. But I wanted it to look like it was sunny, right? So I brought my own sunshine, so to speak. So here's my ambient exposure. Underexposed by 1 stop and 1/3. 4 speed lights are basically up what I would call on the wall, which is the banked curve here, and Brad is up on the wall. He's got the 4-square block. It's got 4 speed lights in it. It's got the handle, and I think Brad might have been using the monopod to just sort of support things, so he's not just holding it for, you know, an hour or more while the races are going on. And basically we just added some off-camera light. Brad and the speed lights are about 35 to 40 feet away from the subject, and I'm maybe about 90 feet away from Brad. It's kind of a triangle, right? I'm here, the subject is here, Brad's up on the wall. It kind of forms a triangle, right? Once the races get going, we're kind of off and running. I think I might have used a 600 millimeter lens with this one. If not, might have been a 200 to 400 with a 1.4 converter. But it's a long lens look. I wanted the riders coming right at me. Brad again is up on the wall. He's adding that side light. You can see the shadow right there. Side light coming in. Now, one of the questions that I sort of fielded this year was, doesn't that flash bother the athletes? No. Why not? Because we're combining it with the ambient light. It's not this giant flash from a more standard sports strobe system. Remember I said that if I was using a standard sports strobe system, I'd have to be at least 3 stops brighter than the ambient light. Here all I have to do is be just a tiny bit brighter than the ambient light. I've underexposed the ambient light. The general scene is underexposed by a stop and a third. I'm going to add one more stop of light just to my riders and kind of shape them with some off-camera lighting, right? Now, this is my favorite shot right here. This picture, to me, is what I envisioned in my mind at the beginning of the summer. I wanted to make pictures like this. Very fast action. I wanted to be shooting against the sunshine. I'm looking right into the sunshine. In fact, the sunshine is right behind our athlete's head, right here. This rider up here is not receiving any benefits of the speed light. I don't want him to. He's in silhouette. I have silhouetted him against the background being the sky. And I've underexposed the sky. So I have a nice deep blue sky, and here's my burst of sunshine. I've waited till the rider comes by, and honestly, it's a 15-lap race. I didn't hit him right. I didn't get him positioned right into the sun on the first lap. I think around lap 4 or 5, boom, actually got a one where his head was right into the sunshine. And then we used the speed lights, again, being held on the 4 square, 4 lights. They are off camera. They're about 20 feet away from our athlete. It's a triangle again. Here I am down here on what's called I'm actually in the gutter, which is next to the apron of the Velodrome. And then here's the racetrack. So I'm down here. Here's my triangle. Here's my camera position, me. My athlete's up here. My speed lights are over here. Forms a triangle again. And that little bit of light, that burst of flash, illuminates his face, the bike, his knees, his arms, his shoulders, etc., and just separates him from silhouette. It reveals him from the silhouette against the sky. I love this picture. He's going about 30 miles an hour here, moving perpendicular to the camera, and it's going to take a shutter speed of about 2,000th of a second or more to stop him, to freeze him at that point. Here the combination of ambient light and speed light is almost the same. I've only underexposed the ambient scene by about 2/3 of a stop. Not a stop and a third, not 2 stops, just 2/3 of a stop. So I can still see all this part of the track back here, all these riders are back here, and I'm actually using a softbox on top of the 4 square. The 4 square kit comes with a softbox that makes this almost more of a studio portrait, but it's action. Again, more in the neighborhood of 1,000th of a second shutter speed, maybe 1,600th of a second, because he's coming by me very, very quickly, 20 miles an hour. But I wanted to see all the other riders. Do I have to illuminate all the other riders? No, I don't. I only have to illuminate this one, the available ambient lights doing all the rest of the work. If I was using a traditional strobe system like Speedotron or Elochrom or Profoto, something like that, I would have had to have strobes down here in the infield, up on the wall over here, lighting up this entire curve, the entire corner. But in this case, all I need are 4 speed lights, and I can let the ambient light do its job and then let the speed lights do their job. Instead of 2/3 of a stop underexposed ambient, I've now gone to 1 2/3 stop underexposed. Really darkens everything back here. Here's my 4 square with a softbox right here. Makes almost like a studio portrait of these riders coming along to do the pursuit. This is kind of a favorite sort of lighting scheme I like to do, and a sort of a color scheme as well. I'm going to use a very cool white balance of 3030 Kelvin. That would also be like using a white balance of fluorescent. would kind of offer the same sort of blue sky effect. It's going to blue everything out, very cool blue. I actually call it the Moody blue formula. Cool, general scene is all cool, and then I'm going to add shafts of warm light, and I can do that by using the amber warming gels that come with the speed lights. All the Nikon speed lights, it's standard. There's a warming gel that comes right in there. It's amber colored, fits right on the front of the speed light. That'll add a shaft of warm light across these riders right here from one 4 square with 4 speed lights. And then another 4 square is way up here, a little closer to where my camera point is. And we've illuminated this rider who's about to drop down into the pack and try and do a charge and take the lead here. I love the combination. We've combined the ambient light here. Look at the stadium lights are actually on, and the stadium lights are starting to illuminate the track itself. So I'm going to make use of that. Let the ambient light and the stadium lights do their job, and then let your speed lights do their job down here. Here I only use 3 speed lights. 1, 2, 3, right across the top. They're just sitting on light stands, right? Same setup and rig that we have here, right? Fits right on the light stands. This is where the setup looks like, and then here's the picture that was produced. Boom, from there. Used a long lens kind of look again, and this is actually a little slower shutter speed. Instead of using high-speed sync here, where we were up near 1,000 or 1,600 or 2,000th of a second, I've actually slowed way down. I'm down to 1/13th of a second. That's a very slow shutter speed. Here are my 3 shafts of light. Remember, I had 3 lights. They're the 3 shafts right there. Gives a kind of an angelic look to my rider. The speed lights will freeze the action. And then as I take the picture, I'm also going to zoom away, and I'm going to pull back on the zoom very quickly, and that kind of adds this softening or an explosion look of the athlete. It's just a different kind of technique. It's a different way to make a sports picture.